Hi, Professor. My name is Ravinder Singh, and I am going to talk about the things which we discussed in the week three. Our week three was basically about the biological side of criminology. The biological construct of criminology was a thing before we discovered it as a social construct. In the 19th century, most of the criminologists and philosophers thought that crime is related to biology and genes. So they thought that people were criminal based on what their racial profile is and belong in, and which ethnicity they belong to. So this was basically because of colonialism, which was at peak in the 18th and 19th century, and the Europeans were covering the world. They were actually controlling most of the countries from Africa, India, and other parts of the world like Australia, New Zealand, and even North America, where we have Canada, in which we are right now. So the thing is that the Europeans believed in the theory of Darwin, the theory of evolution. So the theory of evolution was not yet fully understood by these people, and they seriously thought that they were the most superior and the fully formed humans. The theory of evolution talks that we humans were we humans come from another other animals. So the animals keep changing their forms according to the environment they live in, and thus they become more and more uh, adaptable to the environment, so they can uh, survive in those kind of environments. And it is believed that our ancestors were most commonly related to the monkeys, and so we are developing from monkeys to humans. And according to the white Europeans, it was believed that only the white people were fully developed, and those of other skin colors were still developing from monkeys to humans. So they thought that they are not proper humans and they are not civilized. They only thought that the white people were civilized. So this was basically the concept which they had in mind. And whenever they went to colonize a country, for example in Africa, mostly because Africans have black skin color, and this mostly aligned to their theory that the people who are darker skin color are not yet fully developed. So basically this was for the Africans. So uh, they believed they were not fully civilized, and they put them in jails because they thought that they have animal characters, and they do not understand uh, how to live in a society, and they are not civilized, and they can be criminals. So that's why they basically put them in jails. And this was most of the story of the biological side of criminology. But the thing is, it was supported by further surveys. So the further surveys, the first one, which was conducted by uh, Cesar Lombroso, who is also known as the father of modern criminology. uh, the survey was conducted basically in a form in which its representative sample was contaminated. So he took samples from jails, from people who were already arrested for their crimes. So first of all, the representative sample at that time was not correct because of number one, that the laws were found by the white people or the colonizers. For example, in India, they had the East India Company who made laws for Indians. So whichever law suited them, they applied it, and they never asked for the people's opinion, for the people who were getting affected by those laws. So that's why it was totally in the hands of the colonizers. And secondly, even if someone, if white skin color broke the law, they never convicted him because uh, they had someone of other skin color to convict. They always put racial minorities, or the or people whose class is lower, in jails. and that's why only those people were in jail. So the first thing is that the representative sample was itself incorrect. So the whole survey just falls apart at that time. That's why the first studies of um, biologically constructed criminology were totally failing, and they were not correct. And the next thing which I want to talk about is that after that survey, the further surveys consisted of other researchers who thought that muscular people or more powerful people are more likely to commit crimes because they have the power to do that. They can dominate other people and those kind of things. Actually, I also saw a movie. I think its name was The Green Mile, I guess. So it was basically the same thing, in which a big black man, like I think 7 feet, was convicted of doing something, of murdering someone who he never even knew. So uh, it's a movie, but it shows what kind of things were going around at that time. And people were convicted based on their race, based on their ethnicity, and based on their class. Like if someone is rich, he's least likely to be convicted in any sort of crime. So to deal with these things, the number one step the colonizer took was to put them in jails, and the second thing which they did was that they started reducing the numbers of these people. So how did they do that? So first of all, we have two type of colonies, which are settler colonies, like in Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, and the others are looting colonies. The example is India. So settler colonies are those places where colonizers actually want to settle and live, and bring more people from their country. And the looting colonies are ones which they just want their resources and they don't want to live there. So like in settler colonies like Canada, the problem was they had natives, so they had to do something with the natives. They cannot live with them. One thing they did was they uh, pushed them to far places. Like in Canada, they pushed them into northern provinces where there is no way they are coming back again, because they know they will be hurt if they come back. And first of all, they have only limited resources, and they have no resources to fight back. So the first step took was this. And the second thing which they did was they started reducing their reproduction rates. So this is even continuing to today, like we discussed in the class. So the government is trying to forcefully infertilize women so that they cannot give birth to more native or indigenous people, in which they were going to fight back in future. So the one thing is that. The other thing is that they started encouraging people to the people of white skin to produce more babies. Like I studied in history class of history of Canada. So the people, the women from Europe who were working in farms were brought into Canada in hopes that they will get more farmland. And all the people, the women from farms were especially chosen because they had more strength as compared to women who lived in rich families, because they never worked. So farm women were more likely to produce more babies and increase the population of white Europeans in colonies. So there were many strategies used by people to used by colonizers to increase their population and decrease the native population, so that they can live there peacefully without getting attacked by the natives. So this was most of our lecture, and I understood every part of it because it was very easy and interesting to understand. Thank you, Professor.